And we are green for another episode of Red Star Roundtable. I think this is episode 8. Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Mike Carball.
Good evening, Mike.
And I'm here with my brothers from other mothers, Josh and Will. I got to say, I'm liking that very Skyrim look, Will.
I was doing yard work today, so it's just easier to get it out.
Dude, that freaking looks legit. You look like that. What was that? That older techno Viking? Do you remember that?
People keep trying to get me to put those little like.
You need to put beads in it. You need to put beads in it.
I'm like, nah.
I
watch it coming out once a day. I'm good.
They do have that beard glitter like Christmas.
Chicken bones or something.
Oh, dude, chicken bone would be so rad. You would look like a blood reaver, like freaking one of those AOS badass reavers.
I'm not sure how my job would feel about that.
I think they might appreciate it more. It's like, you're here for assistance on benefits. Come in my office.
Would you like to talk to the veterans office today?
And
then they point to me.
I think we have an awesome topic, and it's so funny that it's come to eight episodes where we dedicate one whole episode to Warhammer 40K. Now, we talked about narrative gaming, which focused on last week for episode 7, or not last week, but the last show, and that was Warhammer 40K centric. But we're talking about Warhammer 40K today. It is something that we bag on, but we love so much. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm super excited to
be fair, I think the two go together because it is one of our top games and we love it so much. I think that's why we're so critical on it. So if you're out there and you're listening, this is your first time, or you've been watching a couple episodes, and you're like, man, those guys just keep crapping all over Warhammer. It's because we're critical because we love the game.
Yeah, so we love it. As a matter of fact, it's kind of like become a bit that I do where I just kind of shit on the current mechanics and rerolls. As we did a gaming stream, we played Warhammer 40K Space Marine Friday night with Andy, Raul, and Aaron and me. And Andy was playing, and I know it rubs him the wrong way, but we're playing this co-op mode, and every time he does something, I'm like, bro, just freaking re-roll that. You get like 1,000 re-rolls. Space Marines are not allowed to fail any actions whatsoever, but this episode will be devoid of. I'm sure I'll still get some ribs in. But,
yeah, you definitely will.
Yeah, because I'm insatiable in that regard. But before we get to our topic, of course, we're going to talk about hobby time. Josh, you got any dope hobby news?
Well, I have a ton of Marvel Crisis Protocol that I've been doing. I just, as we were speaking, ordered Winter Soldier and Vision. So that should be showing up.
Literally about 2 minutes before the show started, we were talking about the Winter Soldier and how much he's my favorite Crisis Protocol guy. Have you seen his card?
I haven't seen his card, but I don't need to see his card because
that's
I love
true.
the character.
That's the right. That's,
I don't care.
That's 100% the right answer. He actually has I think it's called Rogue Agent, right, Will, where he can count as affiliation regardless of what faction you're playing.
He has no affiliation himself.
Yeah, so it's pretty badass.
Speaking of Marvel Crisis Protocol and hobbying, remember I told you guys the other day that I lost Daredevil's head?
Yes.
We found Daredevil's head. He was in the carpet.
In the carpet.
We called in all the troops. Everybody was looking.
It's cell phones out and put on the light and everybody get down.
So we found Daredevil's head. I didn't have to email anybody or anything like that.
Are you in your room, Josh?
I'm actually in my living room.
Okay.
See my guitar's back here.
Okay, so those acts. I didn't know you played guitar.
Yes, sir.
You like Richie Valens and his flying guitar?
No, I'm awful. I'm more like freaking one of the Beverly Hillbillies on top of a pile of shit. Banjos are hard to play. Banjos are fucking hard to play.
I like how you were like, I'm awful at guitar, but you have three guitar. I can see how like your personality shows because you're like Crisis Protocol. We went from like, dude, I can't wait to get this affiliation. I get this affiliation. These are in our offline talks. And you're like, you know what? I want to collect them all. And I'm looking also at the guitars where like, man, I want to learn to play guitar and have a guitar. And there's 3 guitars back there.
One's a bass.
Oh, okay, so I don't.
Okay, sorry,
Yeah.
Mike. Sorry, Mike.
I can't see it that well, but I do know the difference between a bass and a regular guitar. Any other hobby stuff though?
Other than picking up things that people have commissioned for me, not really. I painted Punisher's pants 2 days ago,
Progress.
so his pants look pretty good. Put a little snakebite leather on some gun holsters. But besides that, I worked 100 hours, 119 hours last pay period, so
Right.
been
Would-
a little busy.
Right, but it's also like just pay me in Crisis Protocol boxes, sir, and we'll be
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Here's
And then
my list.
I'll eat trail mix. I'll eat trail mix and just like a couple of M&Ms and some cashews and
Yeah.
a couple of models and some Nuln oil, and I'll be okay.
Yeah, that's right. So what is that? Some liquid skill. What about you, Techno Viking?
I've just been painting. I've been trying not to start any new projects, so I've just been painting. In fact, I'm actually sitting here right now with my Typhus. As much as I love Death Guard, I hate Typhus. And I was like, I just need to get around doing him and just get it done so he can go with the rest of my stuff. So I'm painting Typhus and 10 Blightlord Terminators just to take a break from all that red of the word bearers that I've been painting.
Right, but dude, I know that I posted the Word Bearers 30K guys. You should totally pick some of those up for your 40K army. Those guys look legit.
For me, I like them, but aesthetically, they don't have that Baroque armor that the rest of the new Chaos models have, and I think they just won't fit in very well. I mean, maybe I'm being too picky, but I might get them just to have them.
Oh, but they look so
But it's
legit.
okay.
Yeah. It was funny. So any other hobby things? I know that you're getting ready for the move. Also.
Yeah, we've been. But other than that, I haven't been trying to get into too much. I got some models here on the desk that I'm painting because we'll actually be packing up the entire house next weekend. So
Heck yeah.
just riding it out. So next episode, I should be in the new game room, so you won't have to look at all this ugliness. My water's
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I like that stuff. You could almost see some of the boxes of some of the plastic that you have back there that you haven't put together. If you look hard enough.
I don't have anything in this garage unbuilt. I have loads unpainted. There's nothing in here unbuilt. But I just think it's funny because you're talking about how character shows through in the background for Josh. If you look at our three screens, we're so wildly different.
Yeah.
I think it kind of shows our personalities a little bit,
I always saw like Mike's a wild, crazy guy, but you're right. I look back and I'm a total square. Everything's like in its little cubby. This is funny because Josh is like, me and Josh have actually had this conversation where we're like, what's your favorite food? And we both answer the same. What's your favorite show? We both answer the same. And it's like, Mike's just a square version of Josh, essentially, who doesn't know how to play guitar. Not that Josh doesn't. I don't know how to play guitar. I don't have a musical bone in my body.
I can barely play the radio.
Yeah, Josh is skinny,
Oh, my
good
God.
looking. Mike is chubby, better looking. So there's just
I can't compete.
To be fair, this all sums me up. I'm like the dog from Up, where he's like squirrel,
right.
and so that's like me all the time. So it's hard for me to complete projects because I'm like ADD all the time. I'm literally ADD all the time. So this kind of just it's very apropos for my personality. So
How do you like that circle light? That circle light looks pretty badass.
it came with my camera holder that we were using to stream our games, and hopefully we'll stream some more games. And it's a like a round light. I guess people use it to do like makeup tutorials and shit.
Right.
Obviously not me, but other
Yeah, I
folks.
see them in apartments all the time. When I go into units, all the time I see that shit.
Now I've never used it. I just bought it so it hold the camera, so I didn't have to do the constantly walking around thing when we were doing our stream games back in the beginning of COVID.
Bought it to help him braid his beard.
Yep, it's part of his makeup. Yeah, he also has a separate channel about like makeup tutorials and stuff like that.
No, it's all beard tutorials.
Beard
Here's how
tutorials.
you
Beard-centric.
with your beard and comb your beard.
Do you remember
That's
like the at the beginning of like the COVID thing? I think when we were doing in the previous incarnation of this show, I talked about like I bought a beard growth kit that obviously didn't work. So I'm just if you're like a guy who can't grow a beard, those things are total bullshit because I used it forever followed the instructions, and it didn't work. So
I think it's all DNA, man. This is all white trash DNA. That's why it doesn't fill in very well. And
Fucking
then
Joe Dirt.
And for those of you that don't know, all this gray, this is Hispanic women.
There you go.
I'm married to a Mexican woman.
They do that.
Stuff didn't exist before her.
They'll do that, brother. You know what? I started doing commissioning painting for the first time. Now I've done favors for friends and stuff, but it's kind of got me like it's weird because some of the models are Horus Heresy models. I got one, the Lion. What's his name? Dark Angels Primarch. Lionel Johnson. And it's so sensitive, like with the swords and stuff. And I'm like, let me tell you something, bro. I goddamn hate working with resin, but it looks beautiful. I thought I did a pretty good job. I did him, a couple of other characters, and then once I was able to do that, some other painting projects, and then I just today I started putting together some deathcore of my own collection. My guys finally came in, and these are going to be a labor of love. I'm taking my time. I'm not trying to rush them to field them on the table because I want these to be like everything that I've learned about hobbying is going to culminate in how I paint these beautiful, beautiful models. So
10 minutes later.
Wait to see them on the table.
You'll see them on the table. I think I'll be done with them this year, but I do have an awesome Catachan force that I'm excited to play, which will definitely be talked about during the show. But
I think
David
the best
says,
thing about last week's show is that Mike is now like, okay, maybe I'll get back into actually playing 40K now.
Oh, I know. You were actually the one who talked up. Let's see. You were the one who talked up Crisis Protocol because you were all like, "Look out! I went crazy." Like it was like actually last Black Friday, right? And you were like, "I went and I bought out all of San Antonio," and you had all these boxes, and I'm like, "Damn it!"
I did Black Friday, and then like there was like a Memorial Day sale over at Printed Meeple, and they're like 50% off, and I was like speeding across town to get there.
David says that I built 2 of those models, and the sword is a pain. I've now packed it away. I've got it wrapped in bubble wrap in the box to give it to the commission guy, and I just know between the travel that fucking sword's gonna snap off. I don't even want to deal with that. But
that's how I feel about Ghost Rider's chain. Like Ghost Rider's chain is just not gonna be cool.
There's another one. It's got a real like Corvus Proxima Midnight's sword or spear is flimsy as hell.
Daredevil's whippy stick thing.
The batons.
That thing, I'm afraid that one's gonna break.
So we're all putting stuff together as usual. Like I think it's like hobby never takes a weekend or never takes a vacation. But you know what? Let's get on to the topic at hand. Warhammer 40K, probably our favorite. I mean, it's Dungeons and Dragons is my favorite game, but Warhammer 40K I think is the top of the tier 1, for many reasons. And when you have a fully painted army, and I've said this before on the show, when you have a fully painted army and it's on the tabletop and you just take a step back, you're like, it was all worth it, right? It was totally worth it. I always every time I'm like, okay, I'm gonna meet. I think the last time me and Andy played Will like a learning game, and I got there first, and I always do this. I got to the game store first, and I line everything up, right? Because like, let me look at these guys in the light of the store with the terrain, and then I parade formation. I got the tanks and stuff, and I'm like, damn, all of the money, all of the time, all of the hobby, all of that was worth it. Just looking at this beautiful themed Catachan force, it was just completely worth it. I don't know any other hobby that gives you that same feeling of satisfaction.
I feel that same way. Last time we played a kill team tournament, and I whooped your ass, Mike, to take the championship
in the finals. Yeah,
just had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
My mom actually came out and saw me playing, and so I got to show my mommy my models. So I felt really good about that.
I like how he throws that out, but it's a sick reminder every day because I have to. Every time I come in the office, I look at what is not a gold medal but a silver medal. So
I'm looking for mine. I know it's on my desk over here.
Let me show you my medal.
for Kill Team. Don't get him on a Kill Team. Don't get him on a Kill Team tangent. But no,
No,
but
I
yeah,
agree with you about the painted stuff, and everybody knows my mixed feelings about painted. But I have to say, since I've started this whole hobby, everyday kick, and like the whole 1 hour a night type painting thing, my stuff's starting to come together, and it makes a huge difference. So it looks a lot better than the mountain of gray.
right. And I think one of the things that we want to touch on is, well, we're going to talk. Okay, so we're going to talk about 40K, right? But we want to help people get off to the best start possible. Like, use our experience, the things that we have done wrong in our collections, and use this collected wisdom to get yourself off on the best foot of the hobby. And this show.
I'm always trying to get myself off, Mike. I'm always trying to get myself off.
It's not right. Freaking, I teed that one up. But we want to encourage all aspects of the hobby to play, to paint, to put them together. Obviously, not in that order, but we definitely encourage painted models because we want you to be able to feel that amazing satisfaction of, I did this task at hand and I was able to accomplish something big. And I think we're going to have a lot of later in the show. We'll have some really good tips on how to get started. But let me throw this out there first. Like, why is it that 40K is the quote unquote top dog? Why, when you go to the stores, you're more likely to see people playing 40K than any other tabletop game out there?
I think it's the lore, man. I think the lore has a lot to do with it. People just they like the story, man, and also the models are everywhere, so you can get them. As opposed to like X-Wing and shit like that. Like you're gonna have a harder time finding players. You're gonna have a harder time, finding models and shit.
Yeah, that's true.
But
Yeah.
I think that 40K paved the way in a lot of those areas. I mean, I remember back in the day when I first started playing 4th edition into 3rd edition, and they had like hand sculpted models, and so they were decent, but the level of model that they're putting out is pretty good. Some of their rules could use some work, but I agree with what you're saying about their IP is amazing. But I think if I was to say one thing that sets it apart, the scale of the game. Like you just said, when you put all your models out there for a game and you see them all sitting on the table, it's a completely different scale than Malifaux or Wild West Exodus or Crisis Protocol, any of these skirmish games. There's not another game out there that I can think of off the top of my head that rivals Warhammer in scale. We've actually played games on a 60-foot long table.
Right.
Over at Heroes and Fantasies over off the Everts, we had a 63-foot table that we played on, and you can't do that with any of these other games.
Right. I also it's a lot of the times we've had people on the show multiple times to sell your game, right, or to people build a community, and all these things are basically the underlying thing is I have this cool game, be it Crisis Protocol, Malifaux, Infinity, even Kill Team, even things that are fall under the same company. But the reason you're saying is like, I want to build this community and play this game because you like this game, but God damn it, everybody's playing Warhammer 40K, and I would like to get some of those people to play this game so I can have people to play with. It's a testament to the popularity of this game, and there are multiple reasons why it's the top dog, which is also crazy because it's expensive. Games Workshops themselves makes it an ass whip at times to start collecting, to keep up with the rules, and yet sometimes I feel like they kick you in the junk and you're just happy to be there. Now I know old GW that used to be the ongoing joke, like take our stuff and go bleep yourself. You know what I mean? But
I want to say this here, though,
Yeah.
Mike. I feel like right now it's more affordable than it ever has been. Like,
you think so? I think the kits have gotten more expensive, unless you go
but I think
used.
the kits are more inclusive, and you can do more with the kits that they're giving out now. Like, I bought the Indom box, and if you just want to field the Indom box,
No doubt.
you want to do half. it was $100. You know what I mean? And that's pretty good to get. There was a lot of models in that goddamn box.
Well, I
think
think
the
yeah.
most expensive thing is Terrain. Terrain's fucking crazy expensive.
But they're okay. So their individual boxes are one thing. There's no doubt that their insane deals come with their box sets. Like you said, the Indom box set is an absurdly insane deal. Except
People argue though that the Indominus box was all snap fit, and that's why it was at that price point. But if you look at that Piety and Pain that came out yesterday, $170, and there's $170 worth of Sisters of Battle in there
alone. Yep.
Not including the Dark Eldars or Drukhari. Sorry, copyright IP. Drukhari. So I've been playing for a long time. I still call them.
Dark Eldar, bro.
But yeah, I mean, there's $170 worth of Sisters in there by itself.
Right.
So if you're getting in, those are good ways to get them if you can get a hold of the box.
Right, but that's So they're. It's almost as though like the GW's strategy right now is to, what is it? FOMO, fear of missing out, because you're right. It is such a killer deal, and this Piety and Pain, I believe it's called, is not going to be on there forever. You know what I mean? Hey, are you going to get on board? You want to get on board with Sisters or Drukhari right now? Here, buy the box, split it with a friend, and it's a freaking steal. Or buy 2 boxes and split it with a friend, because what's inside is actually pretty good, especially for the Sisters. Same with Indominus. I've known multiple people that were like, you know what, this is a great time to start Necrons, man. I'm gonna buy 2 Necron halves of Indominus, and you're making out like a bandit.
My son, who's 12, bought his first army when Indominus came out, because he bought half of the Indominus box for the Necrons himself. I didn't buy it. It's all his money. He bought it himself, and he started building up his own Necron army based off of that at 12. So I was proud nerd papa moment there.
Right.
Seeing my kid start his own thing.
It's you definitely want to catch their box sets, but to contrast the point, not that I want to skew negative, but I remember being an Orc player from back in the day when the Orc biker set came out. They were $25 or $20, I think. And I remember like that was like that's $25, $20 is like what is it like? I'm in the store and I've got a $20 bill on it, whatever. Just impulse bikes. That's what I was looking for. But now they're like freaking $35-$40, and that's.
I remember you could be able to buy Heroes for like $8.
Yeah, $35 now.
And now they're $35.
$35.
Shit, I went and I picked this little bastard up.
$60 right there.
$60 for 3.
Got it for $50, but
okay.
Still, I mean.
But yeah.
3 Eradicators.
Gone up, and the other thing is that, believe it or not, points have gone down. Points PPM per model, they have gone down. So now you're having to buy more stuff to fill the same 2,000 point army. So, but the quality's gone up considerably. I will say that. I detest. You talk about hating building those resin models. I remember having to drill out arm holes for the old metal models and sticking paper clips in there to get them to all stay together. I don't miss them days at all.
Right. Now, what would be your, let's say someone is interested in playing Warhammer 40K. I want to get started. I've looked it over. There's people to play with, right? Which is, just as a quick aside, there's other games that I would love to play. Like, for instance, I have multiple times put in my car Infinity, but no store have I ever been to except for Dragon's Lair Alamo Ranch. I know, right? That's going to summon
Kenneth?
No store other than Dragon's Lair Alamo Ranch. Like one random Saturday have I seen people play it. That's not the case with Warhammer. You go into a comic book store, there'll be people at one of the tables rolling some dice, and they'll have some Warhammer 40K or play Magic card games or some Pokemans. But what would be your number one tip on getting started playing this awesome game? I'll go with Will.
I kind of have a different take on it. I think that depending on where your situation is going to change. Because I can say one of the best things that I did when I first started getting into the game, I was much younger. I went with used models. And
Right.
I know that that's not everybody's thing, but you can look for used models and you can buy whole armies for, fraction of the amount. So if that's your kick, like you're not looking to paint and build and stuff, look for used models. But if that's not, and you do want to build, the starter boxes are great. I don't know what they call it now, like the elite box and the recruit box and stuff like that. Those are good ways to get good, easy to build models because there are different skill levels for different models. Those snap fits you don't even need glue, stick them together, and you can get playing. That's a good way, and you can get in there like with a buddy. So Josh and I can split that box and get going, or I can have it both factions and say Josh comes over to the house and we can teach each other how to play.
That's the point I was going to bring up. Is that a good way to get into it is get into it with a friend. You know?
Totally.
Like, if you can find a buddy of yours that's also like kind of interested in it, like, boom, you guys can split half a box, and then you have somebody to play with. You have somebody to help build models, talk about paint schemes, like all of that stuff.
Right, you're getting in. That's actually, if you're able to get in on the ground floor with somebody, then you guys are both excited at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, or you have that sense of both being new to something and you're both experiencing at the same time, versus like somebody would come to me and it's like, hey, I'd like to get started, and I've got all of this advice and wisdom that I just heap on this poor SOB that they're just come, you know what I mean? And avoid this and avoid that and don't do this, and like they're just completely spinning around. David said, I like how I could meet folks in different cities and folks play 40K here, there, everywhere. Totally true. David goes across the country to go stomp on some fools competitively, but a lot of the way I started was because I knew somebody. I work for the Air Force, so I've known airmen who have served overseas. This guy lived in England for an assignment, picked up playing 40K there, came over here with all his stuff, showed us, and then it exploded from there. And then just playing our friends, I was like, oh, people play at stores. And then I go to Alien Worlds and then I meet people there and play. And there's a ton of people to play. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, there's people everywhere that play it.
You know, it's funny. I got into an Uber the other day just because I can't drive right now. So I got into an Uber the other day and I noticed the dude had a tattoo on his arm.
Uh-huh.
I could have sworn up and down it was a Mark of Chaos. But I didn't say anything because I didn't get a super good look at it. And me and him were chatting about like building PCs and all this stuff. And right as I was getting out, I was like, hey, bud, what's that tattoo on your arm? And he's like, it's a Chaos Mark from Warhammer. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's what I thought it was, dude. Like, I play Salamanders, bro. And he was like, I have a Gene Stealer cult / Chaos Army. Like, I was like, we're friends now, bro.
Yeah.
Give me your number.
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah. RSG. Boom. I dropped him a link to the Facebook and everything like that, man.
Hell yeah.
You're the cool dude.
And you got a 5-star rating. You got one of those 5-star user ratings.
Well, he's Chaos, so he got a 1. But, you know.
That's all messed up.
At least he has taste and he doesn't play Salamanders.
I'll get at it. With my Eradicator sitting on the ground right now.
He's like,
shit.
He is a Salamanders. Josh is a Salamanders player, so he walks in the store and says, I'll take all of your Eradicators, please. Where you heard me say I'd like a lot of Eradicators, but what I said was I want all of your Eradicators.
All your Eradicators. I had a similar introduction into Warhammer as you, Mike. I was actually in the Army, and I was stationed over in Germany at the time. And because I only played D&D back then, I was looking for D&D stores in the area where I was at in Wiesbaden, and I didn't speak the language, and I just happened to find this game store, and it happened to be a GW store, and I'd never seen it. I remember just walking in like, that kind of reaction. And then being in the Army, there's just so many of us that played, and that's how I ended up getting hooked onto the not actually 40K, though. It was actually Warhammer Fantasy at the time that I got started in and then jumped over to 40K.
Okay. I remember this, a buddy deployed. His wife sent him all of his Blood Angels in the sprues with some glue, and he's like, well, on my downtime, I'm going to build this whole army. He does it, sends it back home. It gets fucking wrecked. Models lost. He's like the worst idea of all time. He's like, half of my collection got lost in transit. The box was crushed. Poor guy.
You don't trust an APO with something like
Yeah,
that.
your 40K stuff. Um, Josh asked, "Is gaming the universal language?" I don't know, bro. I think so.
Is it? Is it? I think it is.
It builds bridges.
Definitely. I mean,
Learn that spiel means
Yeah.
game. That's how I found the store.
And you'd be like, "Oh, combat reroll, combat rerolling,
get off them rerolls, man.
Bro.
You're harping on it, bro.
This guy
Because his
eats."
guard, he doesn't get them. He gets weight of fire instead of rerolls.
I get flashlights versus things that make stratagems that make me box my army back up and put it on the store shelf.
Oh
you
yeah,
got that
yeah. I
Vengeance
think I
for
have that.
Cadia now. You want to talk about rerolls? Vengeance for Cadia?
Oh, okay, that's fair. That's fair. Well, that's against the
Reroll
chaos.
everything in my
Yeah,
entire army for this
That is-
entire everything.
and it doesn't matter even if it's a Bane blade. You're like, I'll just use it on this Bane blade. That is one of my favorite things. Let's see, what else we got here on our thing. Okay. So tips on getting started. Will, you mentioned don't be afraid to buy used. I think that's a fantastic. One of the things that I wanted to buy the new box, put it together myself, and I also was scared, not scared, but I hated buying stuff because I didn't paint it, and frankly, a lot of the stuff are eBay rescues and they look like shit. Not afraid of that anymore, ladies and gentlemen, because of the unofficial sponsor of Red Star Roundtable. LA Totally Awesome.
Before we started filming, I should get the bottle so when you mention it, I can be like,
Yeah. LA Totally Awesome made me completely unafraid of eBay rescues. And you can get some sick deals. Even I've gotten some Lehman Russ chassis where it was like $20. It looked like shit. It didn't even have the turret, right? But I'm like, well, I'll take another body and I can pick up some turrets later. Which is why some of the reason I have 9 Lehman. I didn't buy 9 Lehman Russes. I think I've only bought 5 or 6, and the rest have been used kit bashes and eBay rescues. So I think it's a great way to fill out your army is to just scan eBay for a squad here, a squad there, bits, things of that nature. I wouldn't be scared to buy some stuff, soak it in some LA Awesome, strip the paint, and it's back to gray. Just like you put it together.
Well, don't be afraid to look in your community. Like here in San Antonio, we have a local gaming sell page where people are trying to sell stuff all the time. So, personally, I'm not a big eBay guy, but if you can support your local groups, then you can be like, hey, I'm going to buy what off of you, and then what I end up doing, I sell stuff, and then I just buy more stuff because I'm a hoe like that. But if you can find something that's local, and then the good thing about buying something local, you meet them at the shop, and then you're like, oh, this doesn't quite look like it did in the pictures,
right?
Or, half the broken, so it gives you some quality control on that too. So look in your local Facebook groups and stuff like that, and see if there's any sale.
See, my only problem, I think out of all of us, I'm the newest player. You know what I mean? I'm the newest one into this, and I didn't realize that those Facebook pages and the eBay used model things were even a thing.
Right.
That's why we're here, baby.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until I started doing this. Now I know, and I think we need to get that message out to people. There's people trying to trade stuff,
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when something new comes out, it's like hot. I've sold things once a codex comes out, and I'm like, okay, the codex is out, and I have this old army I haven't touched. Let me get rid of it at this point. You get a couple extra $100 for it, just because people are just so hot on it.
You gonna come off them Grey Knights anytime soon?
I sold the Grey Knights a long time ago. I only have Astra Mill. Yeah, I traded it.
I think I have one of your Grey Knights still. He's got a purple sword.
Oh, that's right. Well, whoever I traded to is down a Grey Knight. I'll tell you what, that's an easy hobby project is the goddamn Grey Knights.
Yeah, just fucking rattle can them and
Yeah.
add a little bit of red and you're done.
Thank you for calling. Don't even do the faces so you don't have to worry about the freaking flesh tones. I know that somebody had told me one of the best pieces of advice I got when it starts to collect is in this game, in 40K, you have to build detachments. Your army is consisted of basically of a certain type of detachment. So what you're going to want to do is when you start collecting is to make sure that you have your headquarters and your troops. My advice to anybody is to get 1 or 2 HQ choices and like 3 or 4 troops. And then when you're done with that, you paint them up, you get your color scheme going, you learn how to build these guys. And then when you're done with that, you have probably somewhere along the lines of a combat patrol. And you also have your HQs and your troop choices taken care of for building detachments. And then you can start getting your robots later. Then you can start getting your tanks. A lot of people, I've known multiple friends who jumped in and immediately started getting the dreadnoughts, tanks, flyers, just because, don't get me wrong, they're super dope, but didn't have the core part of the army, and they've spent a lot of their hobby dollars on the pretty flashy toys before they have the backbone of their army.
And they're not even that useful. I understand exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a trap to fall into, that if you go and you buy all this crazy stuff that you think looks cool and it might be fun to play, and you're right, it does look cool and it might be fun to play, but until you got a better grasp on the game and what you need, that particular unit may not fall into your army very well, or you may not even be able to fit it in there. So like Mike's saying, say you got your IG and you got an HQ and some troops, and then you're like, I just bought this Baneblade.
Right.
And there's 3/4 of your armies in one model, and you don't have a very good army composition, then you're going to get to playing games, and you're like, well, why am I keep losing? Because I got this big thing, but then you can't, take care of the basic fundamentals of the game.
Exactly.
It's not a very good fleshed out army. So be careful of buying the big kits until, in my opinion, until you got your army fleshed out, so you can get a good, well-rounded force.
Right.
And then get that big stuff later on, once you got the feel for the game.
Right. As a matter of fact, I know, did everybody do their 50-point Crusade lists?
I did not.
You did?
I did not. I was trying to, but I just got wrapped up.
Like we talked about it, you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. As soon as we hang up this phone, as soon as I hang up this, I'm going to make my Crusade list. You're just like procrastination.
It's not Space Marines. That's easy.
Yeah, it's HQ Eradicator Sergeant, elite choice.
It's one captain and nothing but eradicators.
Yeah, it's a captain and eradicators. So 2 of us created 50 power Crusade armies. Now, I'm not sure how you built yours, Will, but I built mine with the intention of, I'm a new player. I want to make sure to have the backbone of what would be a future army, and then
absolutely
to supplement it with some cool toys. So if you did the same thing, that's awesome. But I also
absolutely what I did.
Okay, so
let's talk a minute, just real quick, just power level.
Thank you. Yeah,
versus points.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for just a second.
Will, why don't you hit that up, bro?
So and we talked about this a little bit in last week's episode, and essentially the long and the short of it is that if you're trying to do match play, which is points, you're trying to go for an equivocal balanced. I have exactly 1,000 points. You have exactly 1,000 points, and so that way, if we play, it's as balanced as the game mechanics can get. Power level, on the other hand, is not as balanced. It's more for simplicity purposes.
Right.
Like even my hillbilly ass, I can do a power level list using my patas and counting it out on my fingers, but there's less of the minutia and the, man, I really needed these extra 3 points to fit a power fist in. Now I got to lose something somewhere else. That doesn't happen in power level because you don't buy individual equipment.
Right.
You just get the unit, and if it's legal for them to take it, you can take it. So power level is, it's not the most balanced, but it's by far the easiest, especially if you're a new player coming in.
Right. And in my experience, playing power level is great for beer and chips. Now, I play beer and chip 40K. That's all I play. I've played narrative also with Will's past campaigns, and hopefully some campaigns that we do in the past. I don't play competitive. So I'm a beer and pretzels, beer and chips guy, 40K, and it's never been an issue because basically not only am I playing 40K, but I'm also hanging with my homie who I'm rolling. I'm cracking on him, cracking on what he's wearing. stuff like that. Basically, you know what I mean? We're just
That ain't hard.
yeah, we're just shooting the shit.
Yeah, it's very so look at it this way: power levels for casual gaming,
Yes,
and then match play or points is for competitive gaming. So you'll never go to a tournament. They're like, 50 power. Tournament's going to be points, and it's going to be on the nose. You can't go over. There's no, I'm 2 points over. Am I legal? No. It's casual gaming versus competitive gaming, and I'm being very
right.
very loose with the definitions, but that's the long and the short of it.
Right. That's the
Alright.
the 1 mile altitude or the high altitude. All right. So let me get. So I have now. I named my squads because I'm also going to be using this for once everything settles down and we start a crusade campaign. I went ahead and took the liberty of naming my squads Catachini names. So, anyways, the build of this you'll see that has the backbone of future armies that I want to grow from here. So if you'll imagine this 50 power list as essentially 1,000 points, and then when I want to go from 1,001 to 2,000 points ish, that's where I can start adding the cool stuff. Okay, so basically I have and I'm Astra Militarum playing the Catachin Regiment, and I have a company commander who I named Sweet Tooth. And because I'm Astra Mill, things are super cheap. That one guy is only 2 power. And then I have 4 infantry squads that are 3 power each. Infantry squad Romeo, Chuckles, Bingo, and Hunk. And those are named after the sergeants. I have 2 platoon commanders, which are in the Astra Militarum. Those are the junior officers. Lieutenant Hannibal and Lieutenant Booker. Those are 2 power level each. And the officers can give orders to the infantry to be able to do X, Y, and Z. So, and also as a Catachin, you get a leadership bonus by having an officer near you. So they're just having some Astra Militarum lists don't have a lot of officers. I love them. I just love having my guys get orders and get buffs and stuff like that. I'm also taking 3 armored sentinels, and those are 3 power level each for 9. And then the backbone or the Hellraisers of this army are 2 Hellhounds at 6 power level, which have the Inferno Cannon, and then the sweet, tasty, now 12-inch heavy flamer. So this thing is going to be going right up the gut. Catachins get to re-roll how many dice? 1 dice. If I get
the random number of shots.
Yeah, the random number of shots. If I get a shitty roll, Catachins get to re-roll that. I don't complain about re-rolls when I get them. Just FYI.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna bring that up. I was like, oh, reroll,
yeah,
hey, Mike.
freaking irony.
And by the way, his flamer's auto hit, so he doesn't have to reroll this.
Exactly. So suck it for ballistic skill. I'll take an auto hit.
My flamer's auto hit too.
And then I got 2 chimeras. So in this game, the way I'm viewing it is infantry squads aren't made to sit on a point and hold the point for objective-based games. So what I'm hoping to do is have them stay in this protective can on a point for as long as possible. That thing blows up. These guys get out. They're still on the point, so on and so forth. So that's that 49 power level of my Catachin Crusade. I just wanted to point out that I have 4 infantry squads and 3 officers to really make up the backbone of the guys that you need in your army to be able to take objectives, to interact with objectives, to raise flags, and do all of the stuff that is going to help you win by also sprinkling some toys like las cannon armed sentinels, transport vehicles, and then, of course, you always want something killy, and I got 2 Hellhounds, which fit perfectly with the Catachins.
And they're extremely fluffy, too, by the way.
We're talking about starting up.
Yes.
How many models is that?
So, okay, so...
like actual, like physical models.
Yeah,
How many models is that?
It's a lot of... It's a lot. So 3 officers, 40, so that's 43, 40 infantry, 3 officers, 3 armored sentinels, so that's 6, was that 46 models? 47, 48, 2 Hellhounds, 49, and 50 for 2 Chimeras. So 50 individual models in this list. But that's Astra Mill.
That is Asmil.
Yeah, Asmil. Let's see. What do you got? Are you doing Death Guard? Or are you doing Word Bearers?
Yeah, I'm a big Nurgle fanboy,
Okay.
so yeah, I went with Death Guard. I too went with a quasi fluffy list, or in my opinion, a theme list. So a force this small, I thought of it like what would they send in as an incursion type force to start out, not like a bombardment army. So I didn't take any big tanks or nothing like that. So I have 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8 units. I did do what Mike did and named them, but I left them in my notebook in the house. So unfortunately, we'll just have to go off of what the units are. I have 2 HQs, which are Lord Contagion and a Malignant Plaguecaster. So essentially a captain and a sorcerer. I have 2 squads of 10 Plague Marines.
Oh, those
And
guys are
then
badass.
one squad of 10 Poxwalkers. So Plague Marines are my basic troops, and then Poxwalkers are essentially zombies. I did take, instead of taking Hellhounds like you did, I took 5 Blightlord Terminators.
Oh, brutal.
And then I have a Plague Surgeon, which is my version of an Apothecary. And then I have 2 Chaos Spawn, only because I got the Rogue Trader, the big, brute-looking guys, and I painted them up, and I thought they'd make cool Spawn, so I just thought they'd be cool. And there were 2 power to put in there. So my total model count is 35, 6, 7, 8, 9, 39.
39. So that's only 11 less than me. That's not too bad.
Yeah. But my guys
That's actually pretty damn good.
But I didn't do Poxwalker spam, which is a big thing, and a lot of people would, and I just didn't do that because at this small points I wouldn't have a whole lot of shooting. But at least I took 1 squad, so there's stratagems that can be used on those, and stratagems that can be used on the Plague Marines. I'm just a big fanboy of the Plague Marines.
Right.
I think they're some of the best looking models in the army, and they're super underrated, and a lot of people aren't playing them. Plus now they're 2 wounded, so I just want to field as many as I possibly can.
Absolutely.
I think they're shit, man.
Yeah, and I just thought this would be a cool, fun list. Do I think it's going to win a lot? Probably not, but I thought it would be a cool thing to do. And since Josh didn't make a list, I have another one here. No, I was helping Mike the other day. He was asking me for different, patrol lists, or sorry, not patrol, but different. I guess I deleted it. Sorry. No, it's in my notebook on paper. And so it was just a simple list. I wanted to do some Ravenwing, so I took a Ravenwing Lieutenant because they're a cheaper HQ. I mean, they are in the land speeder, but it is what it is. I took an Apothecary on bike, 1 squad of Ravenwing bikers, and then everything else was just Greenwing, so intercessors and stuff like that. And I was trying to do like just a general small force. It was kind of mixed, but my idea was the Ravenwing would be looking for the fallen people, and and a squad of Outriders, because I kind of wanted to promote them into the Ravenwing, because there's rules in the Crusade rules for Ravenwing to be able to do stuff like that. And I just thought it was cool themed list, and it'd be fun. Not going to win a whole lot, but that Ravenwing Lieutenant I think is going to be pretty rough.
Right. So I'm trying to think let's say I'm starting 40K, right? And then you see these lists. This is a 50-point list, but it's all about power list. So it's all about having achievable goals. I'm not going to say mine is a little, I think, tougher because there's more models and there's more boxes that you have to buy with my list. That's the nature of being Astromil. But I'm looking at this, even if you were to chop this in half, take away half of the infantry, or keep the infantry and take away some of the vehicles and stuff, and get yourself a combat patrol, which I believe is 25 power.
Well, I have a combat patrol list that's 500 points.
Right. Yeah.
And
So
You can rattle it off, or
most of it. I can rattle it off. Most of it. It's 3. Well, the HQ is a sergeant on a bike, salamander sergeant on a bike with a freaking cloak that just makes him have 9 wounds or something. So he's just you can't even hit his ass, and he doesn't ever die. Then I've got 3 eradicators, 5 intercessors, and then I believe a squad of what are the veteran guys? They have the little cloaks in front of their
Oh, the
crotch.
Blade Guards.
No, not the blade guards. The
Vanguard?
yeah, the Vanguard veterans.
Okay.
Jump
And
pack.
yeah, they have jump packs and they have like heavy flamers and shit.
Oh, yeah.
Vanguard are the jump pack guys.
And there's like, and it's all of like maybe 5, 10. It's like 17 models.
Right, but that's a great. Okay, to my point though, a great place to start. To like so right because I mean money's always a consideration. So Josh gets this set. He's got this in mind. Let me buy this. Let me learn to play the game with this. Let me learn to paint with this. There's, I guess, what I'm trying to say ultimately is there's no need to go from I've never played a game to running out and buying 2,000 or 2,500 points worth of models and overwhelm yourself.
Definitely.
Create a 25 power list with you and whoever's starting new or whatever. Get 25 power list, build it, learn to build stuff, learn how to read a codex and what you can take. Because I've done that. I had a friend who bought a tactical box. This is back in the day before intercessors were a thing, and he was so excited. We went to the store, bought him a box. And the next day, he's like, "Dude, I put it all together. It comes together. It's got like a power fist, and then a power sword on the other hand, and like the other guy's got he's got all the special weapons. So like, all right, let's snap these off.
Well, you can't put those guys on the table.
Let's snap these off. Let's learn to read the codex first of what these guys can take, who can take what these weapons are. You know, that was one of the things when I was like, what the hell's a melta-gun? You know, and then you have to look at the codex. They usually have illustrations depicting what is what, so on and so forth. But my point is to start small. And even if you want to play, let's say you want to play Will, who's got thousands of points worth of multiple armies. Will can, he's like, if he's got 1,000 points, he sure as hell's got 25 points and he'd be happy to play you. Great way to start is to get achievable goals and not overwhelm yourself. Get 25 points, then jump into 50, and then while you're doing that, you're learning the hobby, you're learning to play, and all of that kind of just works itself out.
Well, because I never miss an opportunity to pigeonhole everybody into Crusade. The good thing about Crusade is that even though I've been playing, say, 6 months and I got all this stuff and I've upgraded all my things, you cannot play more power than the max amount the lowest player can play. So if all you can play is 25 power, doesn't matter if I have 1,000,000 power or whatever, or I have 1,000,000 models, I can only play what you have available. So
Right.
like Mike is saying is that I would have to trim my army down or pick 25 power of my army to play against you. So yeah, don't start big. And then the good thing is, like, I think we mentioned this last week, Mike, that playing like that gives you an opportunity to learn your army, how good it is and what areas it's good at and what areas you're not good at. So take my 50 power list that I just came up with. I have no tanks and I have nothing fast. So if I play that game, say I'm a new player and I'm playing and I'm like, man, I just don't have anything fast to get to Mike's side of the table, or I don't have any tanks that packs a punch. Now I know what my next purchase needs to be with an informed decision on how it's going to fit
Right.
in my army.
Because you've
to
seen the
cover
whole.
those gaps.
Yeah.
That's the other cool thing about like the Crusade that I've really been digging and I want to get into is like the ability to ramp up. You have the ramp up ability. So you start at like 25 or 50 power level or whatever, and then you go from there. And you can add to your army, you can add
Right.
to your guys, and then also it's like kind of coming back to our D&D thing, like you feel a sense of progression of your army. Like it starts to build a character. You know what I mean? And you start to learn your army.
It's like an escalation league where the beginning of the league, they have these leagues out there where you play. It's either competitive or it's not competitive. But the whole point is at the end of the thing, you're going to have a 2,000 point painted fielded
Yeah.
army type of thing. I can't stress enough how much we want to encourage people to do the whole aspect of the hobby and play the game and hobby the game. And And then if this is the way it works. Your first minis are not going to be great, but they're going to be on the table, and it's all yours, and you'll be proud of them regardless. And then you'll strip them, or you'll sell the army, and then you'll start again, taking everything that you've learned. These are all things that after you've been playing for 10 plus years, that everybody has done.
And don't be afraid. And I'm gonna throw this out there because we talked about this pre YouTube days. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. My first tactical squad that I built some 15 years ago, I did what Mike had mentioned earlier, where I was like, this weapon looks cool, I'm just going to build it. So I had like 3 special weapons and 2 heavy weapons, and Sergeant had like every weapon known to man on him, but it wasn't a legal thing. So I had to buy more kits and be like, all right, special weapon over here, special weapon over here, heavy weapon over here, and divide it up, because I didn't read before, somebody give me a box, and I just built it because I was like, oh, this is cool. But the other thing is I also glued my Spaceman shoulder pads on sideways. So, but
I did mine backwards when I did mine.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Everybody does, and it's all a learning experience, and take it for what it is. And especially with painting, because like Mike said, LA Awesome fixes all of it.
Right.
So if you paint something and you know what, nobody's going to be a great painter right out the gate, but don't be afraid to try new things. That's the biggest thing that I can tell anybody about painting. Don't be afraid to try something new. Even if you don't, because I have a lot of anxiety when I do that stuff, so it stops me from doing it. But then I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And then when I get done, I'm like, that actually looks kind of good. I'm really surprised how well that came out.
Right.
And you know what? If it came out looking like somebody rubbed a turd all over my model, I plop it in the LA Awesome, strip it 2 days, we'll start over again.
Right.
And I take all that experience that I got from painting it the first time, and it's going to translate into the next model.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, how are you doing flesh tones? Because I'm having some trouble right now with flesh tones.
It depends on what color you want. Because of my Death Guard are kind of the disease-looking skin, I just use Rackard Flesh, which is like a gray, a grayish tone, and then I'll either wash it with Reichland Flesh Aid, and then I'll put like green and stuff in there. And so for those of you that don't know what a wash is, it's literally just a watery paint.
So let's just say we're starting out. We just got our army. It's built. What are we going to buy our first 10 paints? What's the best pots to buy?
Jesus, I wasn't expecting that.
So before we get into paints, you're going to need 3 different kinds of brushes.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you need a standard brush, you need a fine detail brush, and then you need a brush that you can spread the washes with, because let me rephrase that. You need a 4th brush, a dry brush.
Right.
Yeah, dry brush. That's what I was going to say. Like, where's the dry brush? Because
especially as a new painter, dry brushing is probably one of the easiest ways to get detail on your models, and it helps things stick out. So you'll need those. As far as paints, I think that's gonna depend on your army, but
yeah, whatever army you're doing.
Yeah, because like with my Death Guard, it's all greens and browns and golds. I don't have any blue, reds, blacks, any of that in there. So it all depends on what you're doing. Where Mike, I'm assuming you have a lot of greens and a lot of reds, blacks, and browns.
No, I themed my Astra Mill is all blue. And even my Catechins are wearing like an urban camouflage instead of the green, right. Because every regiment I buy is going to have the same. So I don't have to buy Catechin vehicles. I don't have to buy. They can all use the same color scheme, and I can run different regiments and stuff like that. Christopher Morgan and Rob P in the chat said they've been painting for years and haven't played yet. You're missing out on half of the experiment that is 40K. I would highly encourage you to find somebody on Red Star. There's definitely people are not super nice that will love to roll dice with you, and you might meet some really cool friends.
Yeah. For years, we just haven't ever got a game in yet.
Oh, so you know them? There you go. But yeah, let's say I'm doing Ultramarines, right? Let's just say I'm doing Ultramarines. First, I'm gonna get the whatever color the Ultramarine blue I'm gonna get. So I think it's I did Ultramarines once, but they were
Blue?
was it Macragge Blue?
McCrag Blue, I think it's what it's
Okay,
called.
Macragge Blue. I would get Null Oil, right? And this is beginner's level paint. You base coat it Macragge Blue. You get the brush. You get your Null Oil. You put it on your brush, and then you wash the whole model. Then you go back over it once it's dry with Macragge Blue, still the same base coat, and then you repaint the areas and leave your recesses. That when I learned base coat, shade, reapply base coat, completely changed my painting game. Now you could go on top of that, and then you can start highlighting and do these things. But that was the first time when I started doing that, the first time where I was like, these guys look tabletop ready. And that was my goal. I just want tabletop ready guys. But I wasn't embarrassed by my guys with that one simple painting technique.
I feel like dry brushing is really important. Like, especially starting out, like if you dry brush, like all you have to do is base, shade, or I dry brush and then I shade.
Mm-hmm.
So for those that don't know what dry brushing is, it's a technique to get paint on the model where you take a bristled or a stiff bristled brush, and you get the paint loaded up on there, and then you just wipe all the paint off on a paper towel. And so what that does is then you end up brushing over the model, but then only the highest raised places are actually going to get paint on them, and so it creates a definition. And it's a real easy way to do it, as opposed to edge highlighting, is where you take a small bristled brush and then you're going to paint very thin lines, which is very painstaking and can be a bit of a pain. But dry brushing, if you're a new player, yeah, I agree, man. That's a good way to get some detail on there and add different colors.
You know, maybe I'll put up a dry brush video here soon.
Hell yeah, do it, dude.
It's so easy, and I've got Grey Knights that I can use to do it, or Salamanders that just like it works so well.
And one of the other things I was going to mention real quick is that GW makes their own paint, but they are by far from the only paint out there. I mainly use these ones in the dropper bottles. I'm not saying the paint's any better quality, but it gives you more control over the paint. So I'll bring a Dixie plate out here, and then I'll just put drops of paint on there with the little eyedropper things that they have on here. It looks like a little Visine type thing. And it's a way to just control paint and be able to not waste a lot, where GW's paint pots, I don't dislike their paint, but their paint pots, you end up wasting a lot. And then you get all this dried stuff around them because the paint stays open. It's not easy to always transfer them over. Now, there's a lot of videos out there on how to do all that. But if you're a new player starting out, that's not necessarily what you're looking to do. Plus, this is $4-something.
Yeah, $4.75.
And I think I paid
like $5 a paint.
And I think I paid like $2.50 for this.
Yeah.
So it's, just there are alternatives out there with, again, this is GW's paint, and then this is Army Painter, and then Vallejo also does the dropper. So this is the same color as the Macragge Blue that you were talking about, Mike, at a slightly less price point, but it's a good alternative, especially if you don't have a GW store in your area. You can get these from Hobby Lobby.
So let me ask this. For new players, should they be using a wet palette? Do you guys use a wet palette?
I do. Yeah, I do exclusively.
Yeah, I do. I always use a wet palette.
But I'm not a big painter, so, I don't.
Get the fuck out of here.
I until recently, I hardly ever painted. I did some, basic paint jobs and stuff before just to get it done, but I've not been putting the level of detail that I've been putting over this since COVID started. But wet palettes prevent your paint from drying out, is what Josh is saying. It helps you basically use a tissue, make it damp, and then you put your paint on that, and it helps keep it from drying up while you're painting the model.
I think our YouTube channel has Andy showing how to make one.
Yes, it does. It does.
It helps me because I paint really, really slow. So whenever I don't use a wet palette, my paint just dries up because I'm like looking at a model for 15 minutes before I even put a brush to it,
See, for me, about doing the wet palette, with my ADD, by the time my paint dries up, I'm off doing something else anyway. So otherwise, I'd have wet paint just sitting here for days.
All right, lads. We're hit the hour mark. Do we have any last minutes? Oh, you know what? I do real quick. Yes, teacher. I call on myself. It's important to know. I wish we would have dedicated more time because it would have been apropos. That when it comes to a 40K, there are 3 ways to play. There is the did they still do that with the open match in narrative? Okay, so they have. Will talked about the difference between power level and points, which is essentially the open play, which uses power level, which is a more casual play, and then match points, which tries to seek some sort of parity and balance by you paying for every upgrade that your character takes or that your models take. And then, of course, you have the narrative play, which is we've alluded to tonight, and we dedicated last week's show to, but it's where you play and there's a storyline associated, and you're playing like a campaign, and your army grows. The army lists that we had created are for the narrative part of gaming, but the reason I bring it up is because not everybody likes to be sweaty about playing, just that are super hyper competitive. And I think that it was very forward thinking of Games Workshop to lend credence to the fact that you don't have to play like that. You can play this game this way casually, or to create a story for those of you Dungeons and Dragons nerds. You know what I mean? I think is another testament to why games or 40K is the top dog at stores, and why it's the one game that virtually everybody in Red Star has something in common with, because we own 40K, but they know that not everybody likes to play it this way, so you can find people to play it in a way that will suit you and make you feel comfortable.
One other thing about open play as opposed to narrative, which is what we talked about last week and I spent a lot of time talking about tonight. Open play, there are no rules. It's 2 Christmases, man. You do whatever you want. There's no detachments. There's no cap on what you can take. So hypothetically, if you wanted to do a theme game where I have a group of Terminators against Mike's Tyranids, and then they're just wave after wave, and we're going to do a Starship Troopers type thing, go for it.
Yeah.
When I sit in the middle,
Booker movie.
It dies and comes back. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
One last thing that I think that I think we would be doing an injustice if we did not talk about when you're getting into 40K. There are so many different armies that play so many different ways, and so I think what it would be a good tip if you're getting into the game, have an idea of how you want to play and look at the different factions and see how they play. Because if you want to do an all melee army, you're not wanting to play IG.
Right, or
because,
Tau.
that's just not what they do.
I think we need to talk about, well, at least mention it. The rule of cool. Rule of cool.
Well, sure. Of course, you want.
If you like your shit, do your shit.
Right.
Yeah, you want to get an army where you're like, oh, I like the way those models look, but at least go in with the understanding of how that army is going to function.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to be like, well, I want to do an all melee army, well, there are many options. IG just may not be one of them.
Right.
You only fix bayonet so many times, and
Yeah.
they're not necessarily going to be super great at. Of course.
What happened to Acadia? Did Acadia fall?
Yeah, Acadia, it broke, but the planet broke.
But at the same time, if you're trying to play a shooty army, and you want to do orcs, go for it. But with the understanding that they are not the best marksmen in the game.
Right. We live in a world of resources at our fingertips. There are plenty of places that can put the difference between the factions and the armies and how they play more eloquently than any of us could demonstrate. Multiple times I've had to direct friends of mine who were interested in playing 40K. Like the first question, and you're right, Josh, I can't believe we just flew right over this, but the first question is like, well, what army do I play? There's like freaking 30 of them. 30 of factions and armies.
Whatever you like, dog.
Yeah.
Whatever you like.
There's resources to be able to research and how it is plays and how it'll resonate with you.
when people ask me what army should I start with, I tell them find an army that you like their models and you will not mind staring at for hours on end, building and painting. Something that you're not going to get bored with. That is probably the most important thing outside of play style, outside of anything else. Because if you don't like the way that army looks, you're not going to sit there for, dozens and dozens of hours meticulously gluing these little models and painting them all together. That to me, that's probably where you should start, honestly.
Right. All right, bros. Well, another episode in the books and another awesome hangout with my two brothers from another mother's.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate everybody coming out and listening to us ramble on. We're not the most exciting people to listen to or the most educated folks as far as the topics, but we sure do love talking about it. And if you want to hear us ramble about anything in particular, let us know.
Yeah.
Put it in the chat. Send us a message. We'll talk about it. It may not be the most insightful conversation. Ramble for an hour and a half.
There's any number of topics or tangents that we have to sometimes physically bite my tongue because I know that if I bring up Kill Team, we're gonna go off on a thing with Will.
So you just brought it up.
Yeah, no, but it's at the end of the show because we could just hit stop streaming, click before.
Chris wants to talk about AdMech.
Yeah, talk about AdMech. I don't know anything about AdMech.
No, well, nobody knows a whole lot because the new book's going to be coming out next. So anything we talk about right now, a month and a half from now, won't be relevant.
Good luck. That's all I can say. Or if you're on deck for a new codex, I do have a piece of advice. It's called temper your expectations because anything that's in your head, it will never reach it. If you're all like, I'm waiting for those walker tanks, to hit on 2s with every reroll for 66 damage because, you know what I mean? For whatever reason, it's not going to happen. But so temper your expectations. That's for everybody who's about to have a codex come out. Just pump the brakes.
I can definitely attest to that after the Death Guard came out. Kenneth is commenting on my orcs and their marksmanship skills. Says weight of fire matters. But it makes me think back when I first started playing. There was 2 memes that really got me hooked on the game. And one of them was a Ludo Boy, and there was all these bullets flying through the air. And it says ballistic skill 5 doesn't matter when the air is made of lead.
Yeah.
And the other one, because my first army was Dark Angels, was a Dark Angels chaplain. And it says, nothing spreads the word of the Emperor like blunt force trauma to the head.
Chris asked if we covered the new codexes. We never have. It's hard to get in depth when we don't. Like, if for instance, if the Astra Mill, as I know that Army Inside and Out came out, I would be happy to give my thoughts on it. But there are other places with other people that are sponsored and so eloquent. They get the books early.
We don't have the codex.
Yeah, and stuff like that.
I mean, we could talk about it after the codexes came out, but by then it's all been, feel like beating a dead horse at that point. And I mean, and then the other thing is, like, I could have talked about the Death Guard codex all day long, but I don't think anybody would like what I had to say because I wasn't too happy with it.
Well, there you go, bros. All right.
As Mike said, temper your expectations.
Yeah, temper your expectations. That's number one rule. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for tuning in tonight and participating in the chat, and we will see you on the next Red Star Roundtable. Peace.
2 weeks, baby.
Happy gaming, folks.
Yep, happy gaming and happy